What if DRAMPA was in Gen 1 OU? Happy New Year's, everybody. Now, to celebrate the Year of the Dragon, I made a YouTube community post asking you guys what dragon type you'd like me to cover to be my first video for 2024. And you guys voted for DRAMPA? Why exactly? We could have started with something super cool like Rayquaza or the Creation Trio or just any of the high-statted pseudo-legendaries. I'm sure there's at least one I haven't covered, right? But we chose DRAMPA. Weird. But I guess I kinda get it, because it is a normal type. We all know how normal types are in Gen 1. You got nice normal stab, as well as having a body slam paralysis immunity. That's pretty good. And that's also how I would describe its stats as well. All of them are pretty good. 91 defense and 85, or no, special defense and 85 defense. Those are pretty decent, especially for the time. Same with 78 HP. Its attack and speed are very lacking. That speed just makes it barely faster than Snorlax and Slowbro, which I would consider to be a big problem. And with just having 60 base attack, it does mean that your normal moves, unfortunately, are not as threatening as other normal types in the tier. And I know that 135 special attack seems like it's crazy, but I don't think so. And that's mainly because it has no stab moves to actually use. Normal is physical, and the only dragon move is Dragon Rage. So, there's not very much it can really do. Because, like, it has strong special moves, like, that's sure, but it just isn't anywhere near as threatening when you don't have stab. But it's still good, there's no denying that. And it has good special moves it can actually use. As for the typing, the normal only adds benefits. Like I said before, you're immune to body slam. And since you're pretty decently tanky, it means that you can like tank a good amount of them too. And not having to worry about being paralyzed at all is great. So, since there's no fighting types and no ghost moves, DRAMPA is essentially just a pure dragon type with a specific immunity to just one move, basically. So, how good is pure dragon? It always depends on the mons, it seems like, for this series. Because for the fast, mainly offensive mons, it seems like being a dragon type just means you're just god-awful defensively. The only exception of a dragon type like that didn't just suck was Garchomp. But that's because he's a sword stance setter, has Sap Earthquake, and can just nuke everything, basically. The same couldn't be said for other mons such as, like, let's say, Salamence, or even non-dragon types that are just weak to Blizzard like Landorus. The dragon types that end up being good are always the ones where it's more so being used defensively, like for example, Goodra or Hydreigon. You have a nice resistance to both water and electric, and for DRAMPA especially, that's really good, because DRAMPA, it has both beam coverage, so not only is it good that it's able to hit, you know, some of the water types and some of the flying types like Zapdos super effectively, but resisting electric means Zapdos only really has Drill Peck to hit you with, and while Starmie and Cloyster don't really use Surf, I do think having a Surf resistance is great for Slowbro, because you're a little bit faster than Slowbro, you can paralyze it, and you have a super effective move to use against it. And even if it does set up those amnesias, because you resist it, you can tank like at least 1 or 2 surfs, which helps you significantly in that battle. Speaking of paralysis, I guess it's time to go over its moves, shall we? Now, some people try to tell me that this thing knows amnesia, and no. No, it does not learn amnesia. I feel like I shouldn't have to remind you guys this, like, again, but I only use the original movesets for these Pokemon, so I'm using Gen 7. I do not care if it gets amnesia in Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet or whatever. But luckily, DRAMPA doesn't need it. because the swell and bulky dragon types actually don't suffer too much, in my opinion. You have great moves like Blizzard. Earthquake is your only other real physical move, but I'm gonna say that you're not gonna use it ever, just because of your 60 base attack, which means your only real physical move is Hyper Beam, because unfortunately you do not get Body Slam. Do you even get Double Edge or Strength? No, you don't, I don't think so. Yeah, so just Hyper Beam exactly. Which, that sucks, but at the same time, considering you do only have base 60 attack, Hyper Beam is probably your only stab move that has a chance of KOing anything anyways, so not a big deal. The normal type still helps it just because of like Body Slam paralysis immunity. Fire Blast is also a decent move to use, and you could potentially use it if you're like planning on fighting against the ice types, but I just think that is a really bad idea. Now this is DRAMPA's main move it'll have that helps it stand out in Gen 1 OU. Glare. The only other Pokemon that would have it would be Arbok, which obviously isn't very good. So having a slow, bulky Pokemon that can fight back against you, and being able to paralyze you, is really good. It helps it so much against the Tauros matchup, against other Pokemon like Alakazam, Slowbro, Snorlax, etc. It's the main reason why you would use it, because it can tank hits, paralyze, and then hit decently hard back. It's a good thing that's going on there. At that, with Bullet Beam coverage, and DRAMPA doesn't look that bad actually. In fact, I can even see this thing being OU, even though it doesn't really like oppress anything or do anything like super spectacularly. But I guess the best way to really show why I believe that would be to actually go into the replays. So let's do that, shall we? Always starting off with the boy himself, Tauros, and Blizzard is a 3-hit KO. I know that's like a big asterisk when going against a Tauros, but look there, they can both 3-hit KO each other, which, like, obviously Tauros like wins the matchup most of the time, but if you're leaving the Tauros at a very low HP and paralyzed, yeah, that's actually really good. Not to mention, a lot of the times, Tauros will, like, suffer from full paralysis. And if Tauros does suffer from just full paralysis, even just for one turn, that DRAMPA is actually winning the 1v1. So, pretty good, actually. The same cannot be said against Snorlax, unfortunately. It doesn't matter what set the Snorlax is using, it is always just way too tanky. The DRAMPA can't really hurt it that much, and Snorlax does not care about paralysis. So, if it's just a physical attack in Snorlax, like you see here, DRAMPA loses, and if it's like Amnesia Lax, it just gets absolutely annihilated. And then Chansey is a weird matchup, because both are very, you know, tanky. DRAMPA doesn't have any real ways of hurting it physically, so it just becomes one of those matchups where, what's it called? You're just hoping to get paralysis luck. But unfortunately, Chansey has Ice Beam. But DRAMPA does have, like, Hyper Beam, so I guess that's something. And it does, like, almost half. It's not as much as, you know, Chansey's Ice Beam, but it gives you a small chance to win. But I think I would still consider this a bad matchup for DRAMPA, if I'm being honest. Especially since Chansey has Recovery. I think it's a little bit different with Alakazam. Like, I'm not sure. Like, it's essentially the same thing. Very tanky, especially. You can hurt a lot with Hyper Beam, but you're mostly just waiting for paralysis luck. And even then, Alakazam can also paralyze you. So, it can go either way. So it just depends on who gets lucky. But I do think Alakazam will most likely win, most of the time. I'd be surprised if DRAMPA has a good matchup there. And against Cloyster, it can go either way. Both can two-shot each other. It's just a matter of who's taking more chip damage, and also who has been paralyzed or not. Because a paralyzed Cloyster can lose, obviously, and if it's a Cloyster that's taking a lot of damage, it also loses. Not to mention a crit from either one of them OHKOs the other. And then Gengar is a weird one. It's very tanky especially, but DRAMPA doesn't care too much about psychics. Obviously, it resists Thunderbolt. So, it's usually just Gengar only being able to 4-hit KO against DRAMPA. But at the same time, DRAMPA cannot hurt Gengar especially that much. It has Blizzard, which does like... It might also be a 4-hit KO, actually. So yeah, this could go either way, but it's easily in DRAMPA's favor. Because if you're paralyzing that Gengar, it's essentially useless. Let's be honest here. Because maybe I should move that to good matchups. And then Rhydon. It's very sad when there's something that can outspeed... Or no, fails to outspeed Rhydon. But here's a good example of that. So, because Rhydon's faster, it actually has a chance of beating DRAMPA. Even though DRAMPA has amazing special attack and Blizzard. Granted, DRAMPA does have Surf, but I think it's never ever worth using, in my opinion. You can disagree if you want, but I'm not sure why you would be scared of the Tauros, or not the Tauros, the Rhydon matchup. And like I said with Swirlbro, you guys can paralyze each other, and DRAMPA slightly faster. Granted, because of that one glitch, I'm pretty sure Swirlbro becomes faster once it uses Amnesia, but the matchup is still in DRAMPA's favor. Swirlbro just probably most likely would not be sending up enough Amnesias in time to where it can win, especially since DRAMPA can resist it. And then Starmie, again, paralysis, like all of the other mons, but also both to hit each other, which obviously Starmie is more in favor because it's faster. However, it is nice actually knowing that Starmie might feel like it needs to paralyze the DRAMPA. Otherwise, it could go in DRAMPA's favor. So it's actually a bit of a mind game, if you really think about it. Like, does the DRAMPA go for Glare? Does it go for 2 T-Bolts? You don't know, and it makes it very dangerous. So I just think it's a very interesting matchup. And last but not least, we have Zapdos. Now, thank goodness you resist Thunderbolt. That definitely helps you out a lot. But Drill Peck still hits decently hard. And since it's a Zapdos, it's capable of critting. But a crit is only a 2-shot. So for the most part, you kind of got this. Especially since Blizzard is a damage range for a 2-hit KO. Which I would not have expected. But good for DRAMPA. Good for DRAMPA. And I think... Okay, these two I accidentally got mixed up. So let's switch that real quick. But here is the tier list. I think, I'm impressed actually. Would not have expected DRAMPA to do this well. And also, for anyone asking, I put Executor in Unwinnable because it's very, especially tanky. Since it's faster, it's probably just going to status the DRAMPA anyways. And while DRAMPA can take a lot of hits, it would probably just die to a special drop. Maybe I should have made a recording for that, but I feel like I just don't really see DRAMPA just doing good against Executor regardless. But that one, I can see people debating me on. But everything else, I think it's fine. I don't think DRAMPA is really scared of Jolteon's, like, double kick. So, not bad, actually. Like, a decent mon to start the new year with. Not to mention, for Dragon type, I think it did a pretty good job holding its own. Like, it doesn't really suffer from any major weaknesses. Just an ice weakness, and that's it. So, yeah, I can kind of understand why you guys wanted this one. But I do think that I'm glad there was no, Amnesia. I think Amnesia would have made DRAMPA a very boring Pokemon. But you can let me know what you think. Do you think DRAMPA would have been better with Amnesia? Do you think it's OU either way? And what would you like to see next? I think now that it's the new year, not only am I going to work to getting the Generation Jumbo back on track, but I also think that, I think it's time to start that 4-parter I wanted to do with the Tapus. So tomorrow, you might see Tapu Koko, and I think that should be fun. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to join the Discord server. And until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.